Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to another Empires and Puzzles video. And in this video I want to talk about the Monster Island and the strategies and suggestions that I would have based on the first two that we have participated in. Before we get to this video, if you haven't checked out Gemstone Legends yet, come check it out. There are no joke thousands of players from Empires and Puzzles that have come over already, and for good reason. Simply put, it's a really fun game with some big advantages over Empires and Puzzles. We both know that the players that join these games earliest are some of the most dominant players. And this game is starting to really take off, so the longer you wait, the more you miss out on. Not only can you support the channel by using the download link in the description of this video, or by scanning the QR code on your screen, but doing so will also give you a free $50 starter bonus with an epic hero, gems, and gold coins, all for free just by using the link or QR code provided. And then when you start, you'll gain access to beginner events exclusively for players who use the link or QR code provided that will give you another strong epic hero, a set of 5-star legendary equipment, and a platinum scroll for another guaranteed epic or legendary hero. Lastly, I have created a bunch of videos in a Gemstone Legends playlist on my YouTube channel to make learning this game as easy and fun as possible. So hit that download link in the description and get started with one of the most fun and deep Match 3 RPGs. There's a great community in Gemstone Legends. It has some huge advantages over Empires and Puzzles. And overall, I think you guys are really going to like it. This is one that a lot of people in our alliance seem to enjoy. The rewards are not that great, but it's still in the beta phase, so there's been some indication that these could be improved as time goes on. Maybe they want to get the testing out of the way before they impact the in-game economy too much. I don't know, but if your alliance enjoys it as well, I figured I would share some tips that can help make you more successful. I can't guarantee that these are the best possible answers, so if you feel like you know something that I don't, or a different take on something that I've talked about here, please add that to the comments below, both for my benefit and other people watching. But yeah, people were asking for this, so I figured let's talk about it. I'm also going to mention, someone shared with me what the winning strategy was. It doesn't totally make sense to me what's going on here. It's a little bit of an exploit, but not like a cheating exploit. Just kind of a, well, we'll talk about it at the end and you can be the judge. But yeah, when I go over that, if you have any information to add, let me know as well, because like I said, it doesn't totally make sense to me, but supposedly that's what people were doing. Last point of order, I'm gonna be swiping through some infographics that I got from the forum. So shout out to @cap, I guess, CAP, for creating those graphics. So since I'm using them here, I just wanted to make sure that I gave that person a shout out for creating those. So they seem like a really good resource. I'd recommend, if you want to take in the information that's on them, just pause the video, zoom in and read those separately instead of trying to do them at the same time. So my tips are going to be a bit more boiled down. This is what we presented to our alliance in terms of the best foot forward, so to speak, because you do need to work together to be successful here. In fact, it probably takes more teamwork than any other aspect of the game at all, which I think is fun. If you enjoy your alliance, it can be fun to do these things as a team. And yeah, so anyways, we'll dive in here. So I'm just reading through my notes here, so if I pause for a moment, forgive me. So yeah, the most important thing we wanted to remind people first is that this is a team endeavor. So approach this with teamwork in mind and coordination. So communication is really important as well. Don't think about it as just like, here's a thing that you are doing, you know, like an individual challenge event or something. This is a team thing, and the more you work together, the better your scores are going to be. We have some people in our alliance that we have varying levels of dedication. We have a very active group and communicative group, but some people, you know, have stuff going on and we're not too intense about it. So the first suggestion we gave, and I put this at the top of the list for people who might not have read everything, just in case, if they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to participate that much. And that is, exploring the island is really important. So if you're low on time or you have a weaker roster or something like that, you can be incredibly helpful just by exploring the island as quickly as possible. You get energy maybe every 8 to 12 hours, something like that. It comes in blocks of 500 and the cap is 1,000. So I think you might start with 1,000. So you want to make sure you've used at least 500 of that by the time the next energy becomes available. Otherwise, you are going to be wasting some or leaving some on the table, and I wouldn't suggest doing that. You can choose to do that if you'd like. I just wanted to make that point so you are consciously aware of how to approach that. The next most important thing that we communicated, these are somewhat in order of importance because I wanted to front load with the most important information. And this graphic will be helpful for this. We said only use the keys that you find or obtain on relic chests to start. The reason being, and you can see down here, that's what they look like. Relic chest has a skull on it. Treasure chest has like the palm leaf on it. Relic chests give a passive boost. So maybe I'll scroll to these. One of these has what those boosts are. So here we go. Increased attack, defense, critical, healing, mana generation. These may have changed. I'm not sure if these graphics are from the first time through, but it should give you a rough idea. There's a lot of really good things in here, and these are on every hero for every team throughout the entirety of the rest of the event. So if you can open all of these relic chests first, you're going to get all these boosts. It's going to make your fights easier. It's going to make your fights faster. All of those things are going to help your score be higher. You will have enough keys by the end of it to open every single chest that's available. So there's no reason to rush the treasure chests because they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to do anything for you until the event is over. So definitely use keys only on the relic chest first. If you're trying to communicate that to your team, the image of what a relic chest looks like is helpful. We still had some trouble with this one because people just find a key, they see a chest, they get excited. You know, the whole loot thing that we're all conditioned to be excited for in this game. But yeah, get those passive boosts early, and it's going to make the event not only more fun, but more lucrative in terms of points. So we start with exploring the map. Those with less time or weaker rosters can help to explore the map a bit more. Energy caps at 1K, like I said before, 1,000. So trying not to waste any. It's coming in blocks of 500. And if you are exploring, you can burn through your energy pretty quickly because typically if you're moving from point A to point B, it's going to cost you, I think, 1 energy per hex that you cross. If you're exploring, you pay, like if you go just from 1 to the one right next to it, you pay like 20 something to do that. So exploring costs more, meaning if you're in a hurry but want to help your team, you can burn a lot of energy by exploring. And that is really important because you're going to find keys, you're going to find relic chests, and you're going to find hordes. Because the hordes respawn, you want to farm them as much as you possibly can. Okay, next thing. There's hordes and apex monsters, or I'm not sure what they called, apex something. And you can see the map here. In orange are the hordes. Blue, I think, is the location of you, and red are the apex, usually. Yeah. So, yeah, there's going to be hordes and apex monsters. Hordes respawn, the apex monsters do not. If you have a fuller alliance, like we had 28 people, we were able to explore every single hex on the map, defeat every horde many times, and defeat all the apex monsters, and still had energy to spare. So it is doable, and that's important to mention because the first time through we're like, do we have enough? Do we have to pick and choose how we handle it? There is enough unless they change that. So yeah, apex monsters do not respawn, therefore the importance of getting to them is not as high as getting to those hordes as early as possible and killing them immediately. And we're going to talk how to most efficiently do that. Okay, let's see. Just running through my notes here. So yeah, in terms of attacking the hordes, because that's your first order of business, The way we did it was to only attack twice. I believe it gets more expensive each time you attack, and it starts to be energy inefficient to just sit there and attack. So we go over there. I think the Hordes have between 80 and 120 monsters. The Hordes that have 120, they deal increased damage, so be aware of that, because with this event you take permanent damage. I'm not going to cover all the rules of the event, things like that. You can find that stuff on the forum if you're curious. It might be explained in the event itself when it's happening, but yeah, you take permanent damage. Those Hordes are going to hit you harder, so keep that in mind. Yeah, only attacking twice, same thing for the Apex monsters, but you can bring enough battle items with you because you need to replenish your battle items at the camp. So once you venture off from the camp, the items you have are all you're going to have. So it's possible to go out there, hit a Horde twice, and then go to the next Horde without returning to base, hit it twice again. I think some people were able to go much more than that depending on the teams that you're using. And that's pretty efficient. Then go back to base, fill up again. So you'll have to determine how much you can handle, but you can get away with going back to base less frequently than you might think. I want to talk about teams real quick, what I think are the best teams to approach this with. It used to be in the first Monster Island that overhealing worked as it normally did. They realized that with their permanent damage mechanic, if you just keep overhealing, you're never going to take any permanent damage. Because permanent damage is like HP reduction from any of the heroes that have special skills that reduce that, except you can never get it back once it happens. So they're trying to limit repeat uses of heroes. However, minions are another form of boosted HP, and those are actually very useful in the Monster Island. The thing to keep in mind is that all enemies deal plus 100% damage to heroes that have minions on them. But if you just keep building up the minions, then you don't have to worry about that. I took very, very little permanent damage and used one of the same teams pretty much for all my Hordes, which was Freya and Bira. And what I would do is right when I would spawn, if I could see that a slash attack was coming, so the Horde spawns with 3 monsters. You can see that at the top of this graphic here. If none of them were going to attack in the first turn, then I would try to match purples. You have ghosting lanes available at this point. And then once they were set to attack, then before they did so, I would get some minions up, and hopefully at this point you have some relics opened and you have increased defense or dodge or something like that. And then just keep an eye on it. As your minions disappear, you can use some mana, or you can just try to match those tiles before it happens. But building up a big minion shield will help you use the same teams over and over, so you can find your best team and just keep attacking with that. Since I was using Freya and Bira, I was just going with a Pengi team and like Morel for defense down. The other thing to keep in mind is that the formations of these Hordes, I don't know if we have anything showing that. They kind of are just taking up the whole screen. If you've participated, then you know what that looks like. So heroes that hit all are very useful because you could be hitting up to 12 maybe monsters at the same time, giving defense down to all of them, giving, you know, burn damage to all of them or something like that. I meant to test this and didn't, but I'm pretty sure that hit 3 heroes can hit a lot more. I don't know exactly how that is, so if you know the limitations of hit 3 in the Horde mechanic, let me know how that works. I don't think it's guaranteed they'll hit everyone. Maybe it depends on if they have gaps between them or not. But yeah, keep that in mind. Someone like Morel, who I don't really use that often, was great for putting defense down on everyone. It makes the minions stronger, you know, etc., etc. And then you can just build one team and use it over and over if you have some minion casters on there. And since you can use battle items and you have an increased capacity for battle items, then you can get away with not taking hardly any damage at all, which is pretty great. They might change this later and make the heroes do even more damage against minions or heroes that have minions because of how little permanent damage people were taking. So beware of that. This might be a little bit different by the time it comes out next. The next most important thing to mention about teams is to save your Titan heroes for the Apex monsters. Do not use heroes that you depend on for any color Titan, if you can, unless you feel like you can use them in a horde without taking permanent damage. Because what you don't want to have happen is you damage a key Titan hero that you then can't use for the Apex monsters, and then maybe, depending on the strength of your team, you struggle to take some of them down. I think there's different skill levels for the Monster Island as well to kind of coincide with alliances facing different level Titans. But yeah, keep that in mind. We suggested just to not use any of your Titan heroes on the Hordes. Though, as I mentioned before, if you have good minion casters, you can get away with it if you're careful. I found it a little hard to remember to use the mana potions at the very beginning of the battle, because never am I doing that. So I had to stop myself a few times and realize, oh, I was about to just start making moves here, but then I'm going to take permanent damage. So it takes a little bit of different thinking to navigate this, as it is an event that is quite different from many others. Okay, so I think that's all about teams. If there's anything you have questions on as well, if there's a gap in something I'm explaining or something wasn't clear, you can ask all these things as questions, and either myself or someone else is definitely going to answer you. So make sure to do that. Okay, so that covers Hordes, Apex monsters, team selection, team composition, battle items to some degree. I was using primarily small mana, medium mana, bomb attacks for decreasing the attack on those stronger hordes if I needed to. I didn't really need to. And then turtle banners sometimes, just because I have so many and I never use them. It's another way to boost your defense up and try to avoid taking permanent damage. So with some minor considerations, you can get away with these things. The Apex monsters are going to be more like Titans, so whatever you normally use for Titans, whether it be all the way up to tornadoes and time stops or lower kinds of things, just treat them like Titans and approach them the same way. Okay, so yeah, again with the chests, only open the relics first, get those passive bonuses, and worry about the other ones later on. I think you even get keys from killing Apex monsters, so some of the keys you won't have until later on anyways. Okay, so for attacking hordes, a couple other strategy things to mention. And again, we're going to cover what the winning strategy was for the top team. It was a score that I couldn't understand how they got, and then reading this, it's like, okay, that makes sense. It's kind of an exploit. So we'll cover that shortly. But for attacking hordes, the best strategy is to kill as quickly as possible. There is a time bonus, so you'll get more points for doing that, and the likelihood of taking permanent damage decreases as the battle duration decreases as well. Battle item usage may decrease if the battle is faster, unless you're relying on battle items to make the battle faster. So you'll have to decide where that sweet spot is for you. Okay, minion makers, very helpful as we mentioned before, that you take increased damage. So those minion heroes that have big old fat minions like Set or Hulda or Freya, Bira, counterattack minions could be good, but those tend to be lower HP. So any of those beefier minions are going to be great, because you're just forming a boosted health protective shield on yourself. We talked about the hit all and defense down stuff, which, yeah, really comes in handy. Something that I would do at times if I had a big special skill ready, there's always going to be a minimum of 3 monsters on the screen. So if there's 16 left, for example, and you kill 10, 3 of them are going to drop back down immediately, and then 1 enters per turn after that. So occasionally I would withhold using a strong special skill until I could get more of them on the screen. I don't know if that's ultimately faster, but it felt like less of a waste. You know, you don't want to just kill 3 and have 3 more appear instantly after, and then you have to recharge again. And I think this is why there was such a bizarre strategy used by the teams that did win. Yeah, the most important thing, and maybe I should have mentioned this before, but we did talk about communication. One specific aspect of communication that is extremely important is to communicate both when you're hitting a horde and when you are going to kill a horde, and make sure that someone else has not made that call. Because what can happen is, say you have 3 people attacking the same horde and all 3 people go for the kill shot at the same time. You're each going to be fighting 20 monsters. So it's kind of unrealistic in that sense, but they'll let you fight 20 monsters, but whoever kills it first gets the points. The other 2 people who still did the work, used battle items, all that stuff, 0 points. So you're going to be wasting energy for 0 points. Maybe that's fine for you. You'll have to determine what your tolerance is for things like this, but keep that in mind. So what we would do is we would say, you use the grid pattern that's there and say, hitting horde in C3 or something like that. And then people know, okay, based on how many monsters are left, you're killing 20 at a time. They'd be like, okay, I can also attack, but I'm only going to do 1 hit because otherwise I might be taking the kill and I haven't called it yet. So then if there were 20 left, 40 left, something like that, somebody would say killing, H1 or something like that. And then that means no one else goes in and kills that. So that was not that this is a novel approach, but this is what we did to try to avoid wasting energy and getting no points for it. So this is where communication is important. There's a whole separate chat for Monster Island, so you don't have to worry about clogging up the main chat. And just tell people what you're doing and encourage people to communicate what they are going to be doing so that you don't run into those situations, because it just kind of hurts the teamwork as well for people to feel frustrated that they got 0 points when it was, when they feel like they were attacking first, even though they didn't call it and should have called it. All that kind of stuff. Keep that in mind with communication. I would say over-communicate. You can use colored text in there. I think they're called hex codes. You use like the big brackets, hashtag, and then it's a sequence of 6 numbers and or letters. Close the brackets. Whatever you type after will then have a color after it corresponding to the number code that you put in. So if you look up hex codes online, you can find all the different colors. You can use those. It's a great way to help things that you're saying stand out. So if you want, if the chat is getting really full and you need your team to know something important, that can be a good way of helping things stand out from the rest of the text and just improving that aspect of communication. That works in the Alliance chat as well, so that's something we use a lot for various things to make sure that people notice them. Okay, that covers our guidelines. So again, let me know if you have anything that you think should be added to that, something that you think should be different. If you just want to share a team that you use that you liked a lot, an assortment of battle items that you think worked well, any of that kind of stuff is going to be very beneficial to other people. So please do share those things, and let's make this a really good resource for helping other people. On that note, the loot is pretty poor for winning. They have indicated this is still a beta, so it's possible that it's likely, I would say, that this will get better, because first place, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pulls only for first place, and 150 emblems, whereas like you get first place in the Ninja Tower, you get 1,000 emblems or something like that. So pretty poor. Again, we know this is placeholder loot to some degree, but my point is there's not a huge amount of competition here. So don't worry about sharing a win, unless maybe you think you have a crazy good strategy. I don't know. I think it's better just to be open. Let's make it a community thing instead of a gatekeeping kind of thing. That's my goal here, at least. Okay, so here is the strategy of the winning team, or teams perhaps. Let me know if this makes sense to you, or if you can help clarify. I'm just going to read you what was written to me. And yeah, it's kind of bizarre. So, first of all, you need to find and defeat all hordes in the first 11.5 hours, they said. Then you get the maximum number of chances at, you get the maximum number of attempts for re-killing those hordes. So that's a way to maximize points. Second, you need to defeat them quickly for more points. Okay, so two of the top teams, I think the two that won first and second place, came up with an idea that worked. They went in early against an apex monster and let it kill all of their heroes. And the heroes mentioned were Yunin, Asarnia, Greel, who's the 3-star, and whoever else. Once done, they needed to quickly open all relic chests to get the Monogen bonus. Afterwards, they approached all hordes with 4 dead heroes, Yunin, Asarnia, Greel, whoever, and a living Kalo. Kalo was charged with a monopot, fired, and then the effect of Yunin, Asarnia, Greel, and whatever killed all 3 monsters directly. The mono bonus of Yunin, Greel, and the relic bonus made Kalo directly fully charged again, and he killed the next 3 respawning monsters. This was done 6 or 7 times, and the horde was dead. This gave around 32,000 points per horde, which is quite high. I think we were maybe in the, I don't know what other people were getting, but in like the mid to high 20s, depending on what was going on. Yeah, and that's an amount of points that you normally cannot get otherwise. So we might see adjustments where the monogen bonus is lowered just to the point where this is not possible. In that case, I can see these people just burning through mana pots. You know, they'll just bring all mana on their team so that they can give Kalo the last little boost he needs. So it's sort of an exploit. It's definitely not cheating. It's a little tricky, and it's the kind of thing that I feel like this is not the way people are intended to win, to find a little trick that works. So it's a little unfortunate. It speaks to the lack of balance in the game where heroes like Kalo exist that can have such crazy powerful specials, and of course those are going to find opportunities will present themselves for these unbalanced specials to be very, you know, oppressive or whatever, high scoring. Yeah, the only other way to get points this high is like to use a ton of high value battle items like, you know, scrolls or things like that. So yeah, what might happen next time, because essentially, well, who knows what will happen, but Kalo is firing the specials of heroes that were dead. Maybe they'll change it so that only heroes that died within that current game will be eligible, so that you can't like preload the team, go in, fire Kalo while getting all this mana boost and stuff like that, where you can just keep firing them over and over. You know, there's 20 monsters, so if you're killing 3 at a time, you just do this 7 times, and boom, 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 you run through it all, you get max points. And if you combine that with attacking the hordes early on, all the stuff we talked about before, you're going to get a crazy score. So let me know what you think of that. I don't understand how the mana stuff works out. It might be costume Yunin instead of the regular version. I'm not entirely sure. So yeah, if you understand the math of that, please do share that below. I think that will be enriching for many people, including myself. So that covers it all. Please add whatever else you can think of down below. Share your thoughts, like the video. If you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button, show your support for the channel and the work that I'm doing here to try to share what I know with the community. So thank you guys so much for watching, participating, all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.